some level of indebtedness. Is that true? And what kind of indebtedness is that? And to what quantum?
Thank you very much. Basically, the debt we are talking about is our arrears with regard to the power sales that we have made to electricity companies, but that's not a government. And this has accumulated to 1.4 billion US dollar as at the end of March, and as at April, about 1.56 billion US dollars. As at May, 1.73 billion US dollars.
Now, what does it mean when you say that if you don't get some level of payment or some quantum of payment, you could have difficulties in continuing to produce power? And what are the implications?
Thank you. We indicated in our letter to government.
The line is off, but we'll raise him back again. But Mr. Isi, do you know about these concerns that be raised by the IPPs, and to what end is government making efforts, or the ministry, to resolve their concerns?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleagues, and good morning to our viewers. Yes, the government has been involved with the independent power producers to keep our lights on. There's a standing agreement between government and the IPPs. The generation mix of energy, we know the hydro and the thermal and the use of gas. So it's almost at par, 50-50. I believe Lawyer Jantua will give us the accurate percentage. So as long as we keep our powers light on, we have the engagement of these independent power producers who are helping in the cause. And as a result, every month, there's a financial commitment that government makes to them, or what is due them. And you know, as part of the agreement signed prior to the coming into office of this government, you remember recently the World Bank country director made a statement about part of the challenges that brought us where we are today is because of these agreements that were signed, and the take or pay issue. The finance minister and this government have made efforts to change some of the agreements into take and pay so that we can reduce our cost to the IPPs. We know for a fact that the agreements that were originally signed, the take or pay components was about 92% of the capacity of the independent power producers at the end of the month. That's what they ought to commit to them. And then this government has been making efforts to, reduce it. The projection is to get it down to about 40% of their capacity at the end of every month. Now, having said that, there's also this agreement that every month the government makes sure the independent power producers are fluid. By being fluid is that financial commitments are made to them as part payment to get them going administratively and operationally and all that. But it's not the full money that is due them that is paid. And according to Mr. Afetogbo, as of April, we are looking at as of May, 1.73 billion. In fact, we make the argument when we're going for the IMF listing, the commitment or the debt level was about 1.58 billion US dollars, right? So as you say, we are making the projection roll, and as of now, we are in June. June is going to end. So we're projecting to about 1.85 or say $2 billion. Now it's actually accumulated. And the independent power producers feel they are having difficulty in the management of the system. So government should meet them some way. They are calling on government to commit about 30% of the debt by the end of June, which invariably means
so beginning of July.
Good. 1st July, they should have gotten about 30% of the total amount. So we are talking about $600 million. That is what government must commit to them. We went to IMF and the first tranche was about $600 million. And so, you know, if you look at it, it's going to put government in a very obscure position. And so today, the finance minister is made a move. It's called on them to have a meeting so that they engage officially and formally to see how they can make a headway in this. Government doesn't.
Do you know that for sure?
Yes. Today is the finance minister has made that commitment because before now they had said we have not officially written to them nor called them for any engagement. But I know for a fact that the finance minister has made that commitment today.
Okay,
Mr.
He's going to meet them. Well, it's good that you're back on the line. I'm told that the finance minister says he's going to resolve all your problems today, according to Mr. George AC. Is that not what you said?
Yeah, we'll meet them.
Okay, they are meeting you. All your problems will be resolved today.
Oh, no.
That's
we'll have a meeting. We received that notification yesterday.
That's good.
That they would like to engage us. We hope something fruitful comes out of that.
But just tell me, why do you wait till we have all these accruals in excess? How much? 2 billion?
Almost 2 billion.
Or almost?
Almost 2 billion. June is just about to end, and we expect that it will get very close to 2 billion.
Okay, so my question was, why do you wait till you have all this ramped up to this level?
Oh, you know, every contract, as far as payment is concerned, have credit dates that your customer or the off-taker has to make a repayment for the services that have been rendered. We bill each on a monthly basis, and we expect them that within the respective credit dates, they are supposed to return to us with payment for the services rendered. But it has not been the case. Recently, we heard of ECB collecting over 3 billion, but I can tell you on authority that we have not received a dime out of that. This money did not even go to the cash waterfall. We don't receive anything from the cash waterfall again. So we don't really know what is happening.
Does it mean that you are not usually told the truth in the line of communication?
I can say yes to that.
How, if that is the case, which you have, of course, affirmed is a yes, does that breed a certain mistrust between government, whether it's the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Finance, and then you, the independent power producers?
Hello?
Mr. Petogbo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm asking the question. You hear this in the public domain, and then you also don't get the corresponding receipts.
Yes.
And I'm saying, how does that breed distrust between you, on one hand, as IPPs, and then the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Finance, or government in general?
Well, if I get you clear, what is happening is this. Ministry of Finance, let me say, has taken responsibility of the energy sector payment. And as usual, we have always channeled our communication, so letters to the ministry with all these connected institutions in copy. So we expect anytime we write, either ECB will collaborate with the Ministry of Finance to respond to that to us, but it has not been the case. So while we have always expressed willingness and availability to engage, that is why we have always taken time to write to them. Let's have an opportunity to meet and engage and find a lasting solution to the challenges that we have. If there is that understanding, I got of your question. I don't know if I'm with you.
I'm with you. I'm with you on this. Now,
thank you very much.
If today's meeting just become a normal talk meeting, and then the deadline that you've given is not met, what will happen from July 1?
Oh, my brother, I think we have made our position clear that we cannot stretch ourselves beyond July 30th. What we are expecting is nothing but an alert on our account and no promises. We don't think we are in for that again. We have given a reminder or request since March. We gave an ultimatum that by March 28th, thereabout, we go off. There were intervention, people asking that we should hold on. We have held on. Now we have given another. I don't think this time we are able to stretch ourselves. Right? Unless we receive our alert by June 30th, we'll go off the grid.
You mean you're going to give us, as the general public, blackouts?
Exactly so.
But we are with IMF. Why don't you, in a way, also empathize with government?
You know, the issue is this. We have always borrowed privately to support the operations all this well. In a fair commercial sense, the cost of this borrowing should have been passed on to ECG or government to pay. But we are absorbing all these costs on ourselves. And we said that, well, our lenders, our creditors are not in position to give us anything further because those that we borrow, we are not able to pay. So if I cannot get fuel to run my machine, how do I operate? And so it's not an issue of sympathizing with them. We have done this by our actions. They can testify. It's just an issue that I don't just have the resource to run the plant. And those that have borrowed me for the lender to me for the investment, I'll need to make repayment.
These happenings, how have they crippled you, the producers, over time?
The issue is this. You know, there are obligations that we have on our PPAs respectively to pay. And we have been reporting, like I mentioned, we have to go for extra borrowing to be able to meet those obligations. In a way that is crippling us, is making the business difficult.
All right. Can you break down the cost of this close to 2 billion for me among the producers?
Oh, for commercial and confidentiality reasons, I will not share these details publicly.
Commercial and confidentiality on behalf of who?
Of the IPPs.
Right. But you're producing the power for Ghanaians, so that if we know that the government that is supposed to have this contract with you is not is reneging on some terms of this contract, at least we need to know.
Well, if the government finds it fair to share this because with you, I think they can do. I think they have done it before, but for us, as private investors, we don't need to share this details.
The IPPs that are members of your chamber or that you tend to work for, do they include those that have take-or-pay agreements and currently have liabilities with government?
All the contracts that we have, or all the PPAs that we have with CCGR take-or-pay agreements.
I understand that.
There is none that is take-and-pay.
I understand.
Except telling that was converted to take-and-pay in the recent renegotiation process.
My last question. So, how many, since you can't mention names, I know that this one you can answer. How many of the IPPs are producing power and which ones are dormant? In relation
we
to
have
the...
six, we have 6 that are functional. And the rest are, let me say, done for quite some time now, which I believe you can get this information from Renewable. But 6 of us are functional always. A majority of these beds belong to those 6. Okay.
Okay, so these are great debts.
not Grateful debt.
Okay.
I mean, you can get the details of the availability from Grateful.
Right. Right. You are withholding information so that we all empathize with you. But so the question, maybe you didn't hear me. So the question I'm asking is, government has been complaining, especially on the back of is it the World Bank country director or the IMF country director raising concerns? Is it the World Bank? Okay, Mr. Laporte, about the take-or-pay agreement that we have, and that is causing the difficulties we're having with payment and the debts we have. So I'm asking, you've mentioned 6. The other ones are how many?
3.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Abetogbo.
You're welcome.
Now, can I round up?
He knows how to manage communication very well.
No.
He's
going to a meeting, so he cannot let
right.
That's
because I've been trying.
You've pushed the journalistic.
It's not working.
We're rounding up. I think you've done a lot of good to the viewing public by asking.
If we don't have it, June 30th, they are going off. We're getting blackouts.
Yes,
that's the news.
Yes, that's government
or the threat.
The Minister of Energy and government are committed to ensuring that we don't get to that point. So we're going to have that engagement effective today. All the people within the finance and the energy sector who matter and must help take the decision will be there, and that is rounding up. Because of some of these debts, when we went to IMF, as part of the agreements, that you remember there was hue and cry about PURC increasing some electricity tariffs and all that. It's because the IMF, this government, shouldn't continue to be mopping up some of these costs, okay? Since the power producers are producing and selling the energy, okay? So if you're selling, you should sell it at a point that even if you are not making profit, because it's government that is moving to the people, you should at least break even. And so if you break even, you should be able to get the money to give out, yes, and then not be using monies that you would have otherwise used to support the social protection angle to be, subsidizing. So let's all brace ourselves and cooperate with government to ensure that we have our power on, and by getting the money to pay them to continue to produce.
Samaliba, this means that you have to increase the tariff. Consumers will have to pay, you collect enough, and then you pay.
Good morning to you and to your viewers. But we have been increasing the tariffs. I think the last time was just last month.
18%.
So it's not as if there's no money coming into the system. And you heard the PRO talk about ECG having gone around to collect some 4 billion.
3.1.
So it's not as if Ghanaians are not paying. Ghanaians are paying. But it is a sad commentary on our finances as a country. That's what this means. Because it's all about government not having money to pay them. That's all about it. That's the bottom line. So you begin to want to find out what is government using the money for. Said that debt has accumulated to this much. The PPAs are asking for just 30% of $2 million.
IPPs.
IPP. And we cannot even meet them with the 30%. What a country are we? It's a sad commentary. And so when the lights go off on the 1st of July or the 30th of June, it is not because of lack of generation. Because under the NDC, we have ramped up generation. It is because of lack of just financing the use of the electricity. And how difficult is that? Such that a country such as ours, gold, timber, oil, we cannot provide this so that the lights will be on. You see? And what you don't know is that these IPPs, in financing their operations, borrow money from lenders and creditors. So these lenders and creditors are not for a Christmas. A point will come where they will lose those opportunities. to go back and take that money. Apart from that, apart from it being a sad commentary on our finances, it also discourages foreign direct investment because in the sector. Because if somebody is outside there and watching what is happening, that person will be asking himself, so if I also come, is that what is going to befall me? Is that my fate? So it discourages foreign direct investment. I think that government conduct and attitude towards the IPPs is in bad taste. Now also, the finance minister, you see, this is not the first time these IPPs have threatened to shut down. This is not the first time. Yes. They've threatened before. I don't know what made them, withdraw their threats. They are back again, but they are threatening again. And the finance minister, why would he sit down for matters to get to a head before inviting them? Because these IPPs, their letter went to the government way back. And my understanding was that they had allowed the ECG to deal with the IPPs. But the ECG is not a spending officer. If the ECG reaches an agreement and it's not favorable to the Minister of Finance, what is going to happen? Nothing. So the finance minister should have stepped in much earlier so that we only have 1 week to the end of the month. If today's meeting is inconclusive and they have to come back, we are inching towards the 1st of July.
God, today is 23rd.
23rd, and we'll have 1 week. So I think also it's a commentary on the style of governance that we have to wait till matters get to a head, But the IPPs, I want to find out from them if because they live in Ghana with us. Suppose they put the lights off, will they have lights themselves?
Of course they will.
They will have.
Yeah.
And so they will put their place on.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Amaleva. Today too. Please relax.
No, I want to know whether we'll all be off so that we'll all feel the pinch. No. But I think I sympathize with them. I sympathize with them clearly because of the huge amount of monies they go for to invest in the sector. And I think that if anything at all, the finance minister should stop some payments that he may have to do and get our lights to be continuously on. I think that's my advice to the finance minister, that in this meeting, he shouldn't behave like the investors, the old men and old women investors' money that he was supposed to give them, they are going back again. When he promises them, he should fulfill it. He should provide it. Because if these lights go off, his government will come crashing.
Already we have some localized. Well,
it's not going to go.
It's not localized. We've been having some trips. And I think even Doom CSA, Mr. Jamtua, and sometimes we just have to make sure that the weather doesn't look like it will drizzle a little, then they take the thing off. but that's
that isn't new.
Oh, okay.
That isn't new.
Are we in dire straits?
I mean, when we were growing up as children, it was there. It's not. It isn't new. Are we in dire straits?
Are we in dire straits? Or maybe the IPPs are trying to over-embellish a normal situation?
The doomsaw of, was it 2013, 2014?
We had some in 2007,
the long
6,
one.
7.
The long
and then we
one.
had the longest one
Yeah,
from
yes.
14 to 6.
That will tell
16.
you whether you're in dire straits or not.
Okay. The one that comes with the schedules and all that.
That will tell you whether you're in dire straits or not. But, good morning to our viewers and good morning to my fellow panelists. What I don't understand is why does government continuously talk about take or pay, take or pay, take or pay? You are government. Perpetual secession. You've come to meet it. Deal with it. They should stop talking about this take or pay and the NDC take or pay is take or pay. The problem is there. It needs to be sorted. Sorted. Period. Number 2. When did this start? 2015, 2016, 2017. This 2 billion going into next month. how long has this debt been there for? Was it there when this government came in? Or was it there before when the previous government was there? When is the start of this debt? If the start of this debt transcends going into this government, wasn't it a priority to make sure that if for nothing at all, a certain percentage was paid every time because of the experience we've gone through during Dumso? Why wasn't that done? Let's ask the finance minister. We knew we owed the IPPs. We knew the IPPs, they produce about 60% of our electricity today. They have costs that they need to take care of. They are not in business because they just want to be there and produce electricity. They are there to make profit. So why haven't we been able to pay all this while? What's been the reason? Now, from my sources, I've tried to find out why this take or pay thing came about. From what I understand, the take or pay thing wasn't something government went at the time and said, we won't take or pay. The negotiations they had with the IPPs at the time, because the IPPs were not too sure government could pay them, they needed some security and guarantee. And that's how the, came about. So why doesn't government want to tell us what the truth is and makes it look as if somebody intentionally went for take or pay? In today's contracts that they're signing, is there no take or pay in there? There's take or pay in there. In the last ones they've signed, the one that they extended, there's take or pay in there. Take or pay is part and parcel of electricity negotiations. So what are we talking about? Let's be honest with ourselves.
So there's nothing mischievous about
I
it.
said, let's be honest with ourselves. Let's take the politics out. Energy is key. Let's take the politics out. And why government continues to play politics with some of these things, I do not understand it. The question should be asked the Minister of Finance. Why have you sat down? And I expect the President to be asking him, cabinet. I'm not in cabinet, but I expect the President to be asking him in cabinet. Or maybe the President knows something that we don't know. Why have we sat down all this while and not being able to pay even a certain percentage? So let's go into the meeting of today. The Finance Minister has called a meeting with the IPPs. The Finance Minister shouldn't go and sit and say that we can't pay. At least, if for
Otherwise, what will happen?
If for nothing at all, massage their egos. They want 30%.
At least.
Find something, if you can't do the 30%, find something that you can do. That when they come out of the meeting, and you've offered them, if they don't accept, Ghanaians will say, oh, IPPs, you know the situation of our economy. Why don't you take what has been offered? He has to be able to find money to offer them something. That goes without saying. He has to be. Because we can't, especially in this rainy season, we can't afford for street lights to go off. We can't afford.
Why?
If at night you leave here at 7, going home, and it's raining heavily, no lights on the roads, potholes, you don't even know the depth of the pothole, water has flooded the streets, isn't that chaos? So we can't afford the lights to go off.
Very fatal.
So we are asking the Finance Minister, we hope you are going with a certain percentage of an offer to the IPPs. I'm sure the IPPs, look, they are able to get money from outside to shore up. But it looks as if they've gotten to a point where they've hit the wall. And any more loans or monies coming in can really cripple them going forward. So give them a certain percentage, whether 5%, whether 10%, and stick to some kind of payment plan. Because you know the finances today, don't you? And the IMF know exactly, because when you read the IMF report, they've actually talked about the energy sector debt. So even if a certain percentage of money coming in from the, IMF, but even the IMF is to pay what? Interest payments and loans. Talk to the IMF and see how best. And I understand Ghana are going to get some other monies coming in. Dedicate it to this, because we can't afford lives to go. Look at what happened yesterday. Small flood. What happened? Didn't people die? Both in Kumasi and Accra. Didn't people die? Let alone no light. Can you imagine? Your house is flooding at night and it's raining and there's no light. Can you imagine the chaos? So for me, the finance minister should try his possible best. I won't even say the finance minister. Government should try their possible best to offer the IPPs something. But most of all, Roland, we need to critically look at renewable energy.
At renewable.
Yes,
because
at
money
renewable-
is just asking, why don't we look at
Yes,
other sources?
renewable
Solar.
It's a
energy.
priority of
Let me also say something. Excess capacity.
That's
I'm not sure how we handle excess capacity in this country, because you can store that excess capacity
How?
in batteries. There are actual storage units you can use to store excess capacity. But the most interesting thing is that with excess capacity, that excess capacity electricity, you through electrolysis, you can change it into hydrogen. Hydrogen is a clean fuel that you can use to do other things. Have we started even looking at it going forward? These are some of the things we should put in place to be able to curtail some of the challenges we are having with electricity. But for me, renewable energy is key with regards to this. Look, when we started this renewable energy thing, if we had put in policies where we are looking at residential and say residential, by certain time, all residential properties should have a solar panel. Going forward, would we have the kind of problems we are going through?
But we have the plan. Because the Energy Commission.
Are we executing the plan? How many buildings, even new buildings that are coming up, how many of them have put solar panels on those buildings? How many hotels today, how many schools today, how many hospitals today have solar panels? We did some solar panel exercise at the Ministry of Energy. Is it working? The ministries we have in this country, do they have solar panels? The city administration, local government, do they have solar panels? Schools, they have solar panels. These are things that we need to actively take on, because we cannot continue doing this. It is not sustainable. And so we're pleading with the government, these negotiations they are going to today, try as much as possible to offer something.
Okay.
And don't go with a blank check.
For the ordinary Ghanaian, the question then will be, and for example, Hudu on our stream is asking, Ghanaians pay for light they consume. So where does the money go? I know that that's a plain question for an ordinary Ghanaian like many of us, but the reality is that if that's what the public think, what will be the response?
I think Samuel Dubik, lawyer, will be the best person to answer that properly, the managing director, ECG. But, they pay Gridco, you get it, and then they pay so they are supposed to, what they collect. That's why the man said they collected about 3.1 billion and they've not gotten anything
That's
yet.
a chamber.
Yes, yeah. So what it means is that, is it enough what they are collecting? Because these were indebtedness of about 5.7 billion CDs that Samuel Dubik has been able to collect about 3.1. And I understand about 750 million is not redeemable. What it meant was that most of those institutions owing are shut down now. And so these are issues that we need to look at. They will pay Gridco, they will pay how much goes to the IPPs. Okay, and two, Roland, maybe I should be having that answer, but I don't have it now. Is how much does the energy sector levy accrue okay, because it was established to solve some of these problems, okay. So I believe today the finance minister will go to the table with something. And another one, maybe lawyer can help. Is there the possibility that we can give convert this debt and give it a sovereign guarantee so that, you know, the state mops it, and then, but in this IMF period, you can now go beyond a certain level. But what is happening now is that I understand the IPPs because government gives them something that keeps them fluid. But then their interest accumulations at the banks and co is crippling them. Okay, I believe today there will be an offer, a concrete offer on the table.
Is it your belief or you know?
Yes, I cannot. I won't say I know. I know for a fact the Minister of Energy has assured that we will not go into doom so. I know that for a fact.
When did he give you the assurance? Because the last time he gave us an assurance, we won't go to the IMF. We went to the IMF.
No, I said Minister of Energy, the Honorable Nana Poku. Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe. He said that we're not going to go into darkness. And I believe that will be coming from the assurance from the Ministry of Finance that we are going to commit to paying a part of it. If we cannot pay the 30%, I have doubts that we can reach 30% by within the next 7 days. But as lawyers said, if we can have a certain substantial amount committed to them, so they can defray part of their interest to the banks. That will help us. Let's be positive-minded. I'm upbeat that we'll make progress. Last one. These excess capacity and co. Lawyer asked something. When did we go into... Look, when we're signing those things, it's part of it. It's true. Take or pay is part of the agreements and co. But then there were, at a point in time, the then government was a bit, became a bit jittery, desperate, and then wanting the power to be on. And so whatever it was going to take to get as much install capacity as possible, they went ahead to do it so that they could have resolved the doomsday once and for all. So it's part of the reason we had a lot of these things in there.
Aren't we desperate?
No.
Right, aren't we desperate?
We're worried to get. We need to get their money. We need to get their money for
because
them.
the statement they issued is a very
it's serious. Because at that point, not March we couldn't, and then we renegotiated, and now this time it's non-negotiable. That's what they are saying. So we get there. No, I'm saying
the way you are talking, it doesn't look like it's an SOS.
Yes.
It's as if it's just. It's like the same time IMF will go. You said no, we'll go.
It's not desperate now. It's desperate now.
But you asked something. I'm answering your question. You're not being fair to yourself and me. You said, how did we get here? And I'm saying, these are some of the reasons we got here, okay? And I remember those times we were saying the challenges we were having was not about generating capacity. We had it. It was about finance. The vice president declared it was factual. When we came, we tried to keep its finance. We were able to do it, negotiate and all that. But now it's got to a point that we have to redeem the debt. And definitely we are going to do that, okay? And I'm very optimistic we are not going to go into darkness.
Mr. Maliba, for a government that, while campaigning in opposition, was very heavy on the subject of energy, and even has been heavy on it the last couple of weeks, if not a month or two ago, aren't you surprised, or are you surprised that we're in this situation? That seemed to look like they seem to have taken their eye off the ball or not prioritize this.
But before I come to your question, this whole issue or the fixation that the NDC signed take or pay contracts, and that's the cause of where we are now today. When I hear those archaic stories, for me, I become worried because...
They said the World Bank boss said it.
Yes. I become worried because even under this administration, some of the contracts we signed, they are complaining about, they extended them. Are you listening to what I'm saying? You are you like you're not listening. Those who are complaining that we signed take or pay, when they came to power, they extended those contracts.
That's one.
You are worried about
Revised.
take or pay, and you have extended it.
Revised.
And so, if a government speaks this way, when a government is supposed to come and solve problems. For 7 years, you have been trumpeting this thing. You are not only a useless government, but you are a pain in the neck. You are a pain in the neck.
What do you mean by useless?
A government is supposed to ensure the welfare needs of the people.
And you describe them as useless.
They are useless because they have not been able to fix the problem. Now, the other thing too is this. You have a situation where the causes of these debts are known. And I'm going to read some of them to you. One. Technical and commercial losses is one.
Sure.
2. Non-payment of electricity bills by ministries, departments, and agencies. Is that NDC? Is that NDC? Electricity tariffs reduction implementation in March. You know, there was a time due to populist reasons, and our finance committee in Parliament said that, look, what you are doing, you are hurting the sector. I remember John talk about it. John Jinakpo. So the causes are known. It has nothing to do with the NDC. And so if you come and then you want the people to know that your problems are a result of the NDC, we know the reasons. They are here. On your substantive question, they spoke too much when they were in opposition. They gave all kinds of promises.
Because they can.
They can. It is only when the frog dies, they know its full length. The frog is there today.
Exogenous factors.
Yeah, worsening your situation. The frog is dead today, and we can see that they can't do it. Sure. So, but if you were able to do it, why would they say they'll put up the lies? And so, if you want to measure the things they said before coming to power and the things they are doing today, they are two different worlds. And that is how come we find ourselves in that situation. And that's how come you are asking that question. Because in opposition, they touted themselves as those who can fix our problems. In fact, they said they were going to develop this country within 18 months. You remember? You remember?
We did.
Oh, you've developed this country in 18 months. You have done. You are nodding your head. Let the camera show you. You have developed this country 18 months.
Establishing free SHS within 18 months is part of the development process. Fact.
No problem. So the good people are watching you, and some of them are angry with what you are doing. People in this country, it has gotten to a point when people cannot even afford 3 square meals. And you sit here and you tout this failure as a success. But it is important that we all understand that these people have gotten to their waste points. There's nothing to offer again. And you have noticed that even Bawumia himself is not campaigning on the legacy of Nana Akufo-Addo. He says he's his own man. He says he's coming with his own ideas. He's not even proud to even associate himself with this government.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Oh, but when the man says that he's his own man, he's not coming to, he has his own ideas. He's not coming to run on the legacy of somebody. He said that. His own ideas. He has his own ideas.
Responsibility for everything by this.
Bawumia has not apologized. Bawumia has not apologized for the economy being run down. Has he? Has he apologized?
No, but he has explained that we are in the current state because of exogenous. Isn't not the English that we're
That's the English.
It's what?
Exogenous
Okay.
factors.
Exogenous factors.
The exogenous factors include
COVID and Ukraine.
The exogenous factors include hiring a plane to be bathing in the sky.
No.
The exogenous factors, the exogenous
and the
factors
defense
include
minister that says that it was because of security reasons the president had to take that recourse.
That was a failure in security lessons, because the pilots are not Ghanaians. They don't owe allegiance to your country. Those pilots could have driven into a tall building and our president would die. You get my point? So to give your president, leave your president in the hands of a foreigner and say that is security, they shouldn't think. But I'm going to say that, and to cap it all, that in the situation in which we find ourselves, I think that some resignations will do.
Who should resign?
Long-standing issue of the finance minister resigning because it is not improving. Things are not improving.
Oh, he was able to negotiate, lead the team, negotiate with the IMF, and now we have a PCPEC program. Do you know the PCPEC program? Let me just...
Yeah, post-COVID.
We have the post-COVID. I've been reading it. I read it back.
Yeah, for
The IMF itself was
program on economic
eager
growth.
to even give us that money because they know that our economy was in shambles.
You can't afford Ghana.
And they didn't think that Ghana should be a banana state. The IMF itself. Isn't it now that they are putting signatures to proper documents when the money has already come? In the normal situation, you would have signed before the money will come. So I'm saying that is not an achievement, having gotten an IMF bailout. Which finance minister wanted IMF and didn't get in this country? Mention one.
How many countries were in the queue?
I'm saying that I'm talking
Now
about Ghana.
52 countries.
I'm talking about Ghana. I'm talking about Ghana. I'm saying that which finance minister ever wanted IMF bailout and didn't get? So it's not an achievement. And so I think that some resignations will do, and some amount of, reshuffling will do. It's too long. People have now become stale, and people are suffering because of staleness. What kind of presence is this?
So how do we bring an end to this issue, Mr. Jantua, quickly? Then we'll move on to issue of
In terms of the IPPs?
Yes.
Well,
So what would be your expectation after today?
Government is not going to be able to pay the 2 billion. That is clear. But government should find money to pay a certain percentage and put in a payment plan that they can stick to. And the IPPs should also consider if government gives them that offer. Because the IPPs cannot afford not to work. They will still have to pay salaries, wouldn't they? And that is debt to them, isn't it?
It is.
So they cannot afford to be idle. Ghana cannot afford not to have electricity. So there has to be a point of convergence where both sides agree, because it doesn't benefit government, it doesn't benefit the people, nor does it benefit the generation companies. So there has to be some convergence in agreement when they meet today. So let's see what happens.
All right. Who no like chop money? Day 539 chop money is here.